Hello everybody, this is Bound here, and I'm going to be going over my team for Regulation C. The meta has been pretty crazy so far. There's been a lot of crazy stuff with the Ruin Legendaries, and power level has just gotten out like over the edge pretty much. And I just been changing a lot of stuff and trying to make everything as good as possible for my team. Because as an anti-meta player, it's really hard to cover every single option in the meta. So that's why you kind of have to generally just play optimally and also just make good picks in team preview and stuff like that. So yeah, the first one I'm gonna go over is Hatterene. It's my main role on this is to set up Calm Mind against all teams like with Wochian and stuff like that, because that's been a pretty common meta trend at the beginning of the season. It's still kind of there, especially in like highlighter, where it's like top 1000. There's so much stall and Oko moves and stuff like that, so this set can deal with that reliably. So Calm Mind, Side Shock, Draining Kiss, and Substitute. Now really, it may sound really weird that I'm running Substitute on a Hatterene like this because it's so slow and stuff, but I actually put a little like 60 speed EVs in it to outspeed the base 35 tank Pokemon like Garga, Toxapex, and Dondozo, right? So with Calm Mind, Side Shock, Draining Kiss, and Substitute, I can break through a lot of stall Pokemon, with the exception of obviously like unaware stuff. Like Dondozo gets really stally because you can substitute on the fissures. You can't get fissured because you outspeed, and then you just Terra Water to resist Wave Crash and stuff like that. So the sub will stay up. So it gets really stally, but Dondozo kind of stalls the match anyway, regardless of what you do. So it's like I'd rather just do this, and then Substitute's also there for the Salt Cure on Garga. So you can outspeed Garga, Substitute on the Salt Cure, and then with this EV spread, with this amount of defense investment, your Substitute can live 2 Salt Cures, and that allows you to set up Calm Minds easier behind a Substitute and then just take the game over from there. And then only problem with this set is that it doesn't hit Steel types pretty hard, because like obviously they resist your dual stab, but you can, that's why I built other team members to deal with that. And also just the flow of the game allows me to have this moveset and be fine. Now obviously it doesn't work every time, but it's pretty good, so, like a lot of the time. So yeah, just Bold Nature, max HP, and then 60 speed, and then the rest in the defense pretty much. Alright, and then we have my Fortress. Now I really wanted to use Fortress so much since the game came out, because Fortress has gotten buffed and also is actually in the game, because it gets Body Press. Now Body Press is a move that takes your physical defense and turns it into offense, and Fortress has a lot of physical defense, so you're able to throw off really strong body presses and one-shot things like Chi-Yu, King Gambit, stuff like that. And it's actually pretty crazy. So Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Body Presses, and Volt Switch is my moveset. Stealth Rock helps with the next Pokemon I'm going to talk about, which is this, and I'll get into that in a second. But Stealth Rock allows me to pressure a lot of offensive teams, because they carry things like Dragonite and also just Focus Sash Pokemon in general. Like breaking the Dragonite multi-skill is really helpful, because Dragonite's a monster to deal with, and it carries in so many situations. So you have to get Stealth Rock up to reliably like take it down, I feel like. Now that's not the case all the time, but a lot of the time that's probably the best idea to deal with it. So, and I'm running Earthquake. It seems like a weird option, but I used to run Gyro Ball and it just didn't work out against a lot of Pokemon. Like it does do good against Flutter Mane, but that matchup doesn't come up as much as I need Fortress to deal with the matchups I wanted to actually deal with. So yeah, Earthquake is pretty good. It's a strong move, 100 base power, and it deals good damage to bulky poison Pokemon, bulky you could even like predict the Iron Moth coming in and one shot it with Earthquake, and I've done that a few times. It's been pretty cool. And yeah, it's just really a nice option. And then Volt Switch, Volt Switch is that's probably the main reason why I'm using Fortress, because you're able to get both Fortress in, and it's gonna function like a bulky pivot. So if you you can force the opponent out. You can get Stealth Rock up, or you can Volt Switch out, or just predict them whatever you want to do and click a move based on that. But Volt Switch enables so much Pokemon on this team to come in and just deal massive amounts of damage and put when the opponent is at a disadvantage. So yeah, and then yeah, EV spread is pretty much just 8 max HP, max defense, and then 6 attack or whatever. So yeah, and then yeah, I'm running Terra Fighting because it's just makes the body press stronger, and I don't really need to run any other Terra type anyway. I feel like so yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention on Hatterene my Terra type is water because it's just really nice defensively, and it just deals with a lot of stuff in the meta pretty well. It takes takes those necessary hits, right? So yeah. So the main combination that I built this team around is the GlitchxCity Fortress combination. When I was thinking about this, I wanted to have the pivots and also just like really strong water offense, because the meta has Qian Pao, Qiyu, Ting Lu, and other stuff that don't like water type Pokemon. So being able to have a water type sweeper is really good in this meta, I feel like. And GlitchxCity gets to do that because Aqua Step raises your speed, guaranteed. So when you hit Aqua Step, I'm gonna outspeed everything in the game, including Dragapult, unless they're like a booster energy Pokeball that's faster naturally. So that's really helpful in like sweeping. And then yeah, I'm running close combat, Ice Spinner, Aqua Jet with the other moves with Terra Water, just to make sure that Aqua Jet does enough, and then Aqua Step does as much as it can. Close combat's obviously really good for hitting like other stuff, and it's a really good stab option. And then Ice Spinner is specifically for Dragonite and Garchomp, and just dragons in general, because you know they can like usually the Ice Spinner will be like 4 times effective. What now it does force like Terras, like because a lot of Dragonite players are predicting me to do the Ice Spinner, so you can like kind of predict it forces some mind games there, but you just have to adapt to the situation. And yeah, so yeah, the fact that I'm running a Jolly Nature allows me to just outspeed everything in the game after getting an Aqua Step off, which is really good. Now, GlitchxCity obviously doesn't do good into certain team compositions, like with Dondozo, Rotom Wash, and other things that just don't let it function. Like also Toxapex is a thing. So this is just like this combo beats a lot of offensive stuff, at least in testing. So I really like that a lot. And Moxie allows you to just ramp up attack after you get a KO, and Fortress can set up the oftentimes sets up the opposing Pokemon to get in KO range, so that GlitchxCity can come in and just threaten the opponent. Now the thing I like about this combination is that Fortress baits like these random Terra Fires that people are bringing into the match. Like one time I fought like a Terra Fire Azumarill. Now that's fine because Fortress, the goal was Fortress to bait out those Terra Fires, and then that's when this comes in. And since the Azumarill is fire, they can't really do anything about it, and they're forced to either just give me a free Moxie or just get their switch indented hard. And that's what I really like about it. And that's one of the main things I was thinking of when making this team build, was getting this to work, and it's actually been working pretty well. And GlitchxCity can also just play. It doesn't have to be paired with Fortress all the time to do stuff. It can just outright just be good on its own because of how much it threatens on the meta right now. So yeah. Now, this Pokemon slot has been changed quite a bit. I used to have a Rotom on it, but Rotom is just really hard to pull off in this meta because there's just so much like things that threaten grass and stuff like that, and I don't want to be required to use Terra to deal with certain things. And Magnezone is a pretty good, like, it actually synergizes well with my team because it allows me to deal with Flutter Mane a little bit easier, and then also against just like really strong special attackers, like, and also like the Terra Water allows me to just Oko, Iron Moth, and Qiyu and stuff like that. Like Magnezone is a pretty good lead versus a lot of teams, because of the play styles people are forced to bring against my team, just because of how it looks in team preview and stuff like that. So yeah, and then Discharge over Thunderbolt, I only did that because of the paralyzed chance, because I value a paralyzed swinging the game more than a 10% raise on the base power. So that's why I'm running Discharge. And then Analytic, combined with just the bulk and low speed, allows Magnezone to just do massive amounts of damage. And even if you try to switch into Magnezone, Analytic still activates. So yeah, this thing is really strong. And yeah, and then yeah, I'm running Assault Vest because I want to take hits from strong special attackers and be able to revenge kill them back. So yeah, and then also it's really good it's helped a lot against Iron Bundle. Now I know Specs Iron Bundle can just like Hydro Pump and just do like 2/3 of my health, even with the Assault Vest. So with the Assault Vest, without it, I probably would have pretty much gotten O-code, which is crazy to think about, but Iron Bundle is just that strong. But that's also a thing. You have to have the positioning ready to deal with all these really busted Pokemon. So that's also a factor that plays into the team, the play style of this team. I don't want to have anything too passive, like a Clodsire or something, because it just like people are preparing for that. There's a lot of Encore and stall breaking stuff like Substitute and Oko moves. So it's really hard to pull off tanks right now, because there's so many Pokemon that just randomly get access to Encore, and then when you click a recovery move or like anything that they can just take advantage of, they can just Encore it, and you're screwed. Like, you have to switch out or just give them free setup, and often more than not, it's just a game loss. So yeah, I want to have Pokemon that don't want to really have to deal with that much. Now obviously Magic Bounce still gets affected by Encore, but Encore, I could just predict that, because since I've been playing ranked for a while and I've played it so much, I know which Pokemon have access to Encore and which Pokemon use it more than not. Like, for example, Iron Bundle, half of Iron Bundles are running sub Encore with like the Booster Energy Speed moveset. So when you see the Booster Energy, that's a pretty good indication that they might be carrying Encore, so you have to play around that. So that's a pretty good example. And then Dragonite also randomly gets Encore, which really sucks for a lot of Pokemon to deal with. That's why Dragonite carries so hard, and like how it flows in the meta. So like a lot of top teams have Dragonite on them just because of how good it is, and it can just carry games by itself. If you guess the wrong moveset, you're screwed, because it just has so many options to just lock out the game if you like predict the wrong moveset or something like that. So yeah, meta's pretty crazy right now, so you gotta have the answers. Now Hydreigon is my next Pokemon I want to talk about. Now, like I said, as an anti-meta player, it's really hard to cover everything, absolutely everything in the meta. So that's why positioning is really important, and especially with this thing right here. So the Hydreigon, choice specs, timid, really hard hitting Pokemon on my team. It's a wall breaker. Now the good thing about this Hydreigon is that it outspeeds Annihilate, which is really important in this meta, because you want to be able to outspeed and do massive amounts of damage to it. Like Draco Meteor, if the Annihilate's like HP and speed or something, which a lot of Annihilates are running in this meta, that's almost a one-hit KO. It's probably like it's around 80 to 90% of damage. So if you get like some damage on it, and then Hydreigon comes in, it's just gonna Oko, and then you can kind of fish for Dark Pulse flinches or something like that and get a 2-hit KO, or just whatever. The goal of Hydreigon is to put dents in the opposing team, so that something like a Michael Quavo could come in and just clean up the team, or just help any other Pokemon deal with like certain threats. Like Goldango is really good. Like, this thing does pretty good into Goldango, unless it's like Focus Blast, which I have run into, and unfortunately, because it has like how else is Goldango gonna deal with dark types like King Gambit and stuff, and also Ting-Lu. There's a lot of Terra fighting Goldangos now, which kind of sucks, but that's just how the meta's shifting, and you have to be ready for that and stuff like that. Terra fighting is really good in this meta, by the way, I feel like, because of all the dark spam and like with the rare legendaries and stuff like that. So yeah, Dark Pulse, Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor, and Earth Power. Now you might think, why are you running Earth Power? And that's mainly purely because of the meta shifts. Like Toxapex is being used a lot more. Iron Moth gets O-code. Garga takes a lot from it, so stuff like that. And it's also a pretty good move to lock into, because they won't expect you to do it, and it covers different options, unless it's like a Dragonite or something. You have to click something else, but it covers a certain amount of switches, because when you're thinking about locking into a move, you want to click the move that covers multiple options. So Earth Power is a pretty good option. Flamethrower doesn't give that much versatility, I feel like, so that's why I'm running Earth Power. So yeah, you might see that I'm not running max BDVs. It's pretty much max. It's like 244, just because it outspeeds Mimikyu, and that's all I wanted to outspeed, and then I just put the rest into like HP, I think. So yeah, I really like this Hydreigon a lot, and it's Terra Steel, obviously, because a Terra Steel resists every single type that hits Dragon pretty hard, but only bad thing about it is that it can be a double-edged sword when you're dealing with fighting type moves and stuff like that, because no matter what you do, you're not going to resist fighting at all. you're gonna get too reflectively hit by it. So you have to play around things like Breloom and stuff like that. But Steel Terra really helps against like Dragonite extreme speed stuff. Like I don't want to get bopped by that, and then it makes Flash Cannon stronger as well. So yeah, allows me to Oko Flutter Mane, stuff like that, with the specs and Terra Steel and stuff like that. Which it's kind of crazy because I don't know why Hydreigon can't Oko Flutter Mane without Terraing. It's just crazy how bulky that thing is and how strong it is as well. At least on the special side. On the physical side, pretty exploitable, and that's because that's also the reason why I'm running this Ceruledge right here, because Shadow Sneak can Oko Flutter Mane, because I'm running Life Orb on it. And Life Orb, not only the main reason why I'm running Life Orb is also, well, mainly because I want to switch into fire types, get that Flash Fire, and then do as much damage as possible to whatever comes in with Bitter Blade. So things like Volcarona, Iron Moth, I can switch into those fiery dances and just throw off nukes with Bitter Blade, and the opponent has to deal with it. Now, Ceruledge is a niche pick for some matches. It doesn't do good into certain team compositions. Like I said, it comes out when it really like impacts the match a lot, and it's been showing up. Like it's been doing a lot of good work. And like I said about Terra Fighting, I'm running Terra Fighting on Ceruledge because it allows me to Terrasilize, resist Dark, and other stuff like that. And I also get Stab on the close combat. So this does massive amounts of damage to things like Ting Lu and just bulky walls that are weak to fighting and stuff like that. Or just like, I think a Rotom Wash takes like 2/3. Like, it's crazy. Ceruledge is a really niche wall breaker that I like using in certain matchups, basically. And you might think, why are you running Will-O-Wisp on this? Well, I want Will-O-Wisp because I want to be able to predict things coming in like Dragonite, which people switch in so much against this thing. I want it to be able to just not switch in for free. So I have the Will-O-Wisp to help burn it, and then it doesn't get consistent multi-scale, so it helps my team out in general. So that's what I really like about it. And I don't really need Shadow Claw. Like, it doesn't really help that much. That's why I just put Will-O-Wisp on. And yeah, I just really like this moveset a lot. Bitter Blade plus Life Orb allows you to heal more HP back. It's just crazy. Like, it gives me so much value. Now, the one thing I'm still kind of iffy on is whether I want the nature to be Adamant or Jolly, because if you don't have Jolly, you're going to get outsped by Goldango and stuff like that if it's timid. But at the same time, I want this thing to do as much damage as possible to put as big of a dent into the opponent's team as possible for my other teammates to just help clean up and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's pretty much the team that I'm running. Hope you all enjoyed that video, and yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and yeah, I will see you all next time.